MSSP Alert Live 2025. What a great event. What a great event. We were just outside of DC in Maryland at the MGM. Beautiful casino, restaurants. I've ever been to an MSSP Alert event conference. It was great. The staff unbelievably accommodating, friendly, and just want to promote technology, the platform, the camaraderie, the networking. The vendors were great. They gave me a speaking session. I had a book signing. It was just a tremendous event. I had 10 great interviews. Raphael Matone, of course, really like talking to Raphael. He was our first one inside the next era of MSP security and growth. Great conversation, great meeting Raphael. Next was Wilfredo Santiago. First time meeting Will. He's at one of my favorite companies, Black Point Cyber. And first time getting to know Will. Great insight on the military. The name of the episode is Cracking Codes and Catching Threats, a Cyber Warrior's Journey. Really interesting background. I look forward to getting to know him more and hanging out with him socially. Sharon Florentine from Cyber Risk Alliance. Really great conversation. She has an editing background. We talk about editing, AI, and the changing language of business. Really great insight from Sharon, I think, for her time. And then there was two women that I interviewed from a Woman in Cyber. It's an organization, incredible organization that obviously by the name helps women get into cybersecurity. The first one was Brianna Steele, Opening Doors, the Future of Women in Cybersecurity. Great conversation with Brianna. The next one was Chichi Uba, Curiosity, Courage, and Cyber, a journey of constant learning. Great conversations with those two women from that great organization. Valerie Cofield, Val, great discussion with Val, inside critical infrastructure and the future of cyber warfare. What an impressive background, FBI and the government, being child of immigrants. Just a great conversation with Val. Really enjoyed it. Tony Petricola, first one I did on Wednesday. Great conversation with Tony. I feel like we're related. He started by our last names. He was stomping on grape as a youngster with his Italian parents. And of course, he likes wine, but right into cyber and what he does there. Inside critical infrastructure and the future of cyber warfare. Great conversation with Tony. Caroline Wong. Oh, I really enjoyed talking to Caroline. Jiu-jitsu, AI, and cyber. Surprisingly human conversation. Great insight. Just really open with Caroline and can't wait to see the new things that she's going to do. And really, what a great event this was. And I look forward to doing more work with them in the future and having more great conversations. Thanks for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How did I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others. So you say you like reading, fiction or nonfiction?
Both, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
But I find that when I read nonfiction at night, I can't sleep because I'm starting to think about action items and.
Oh, really? That's so funny. I was in a nonfiction kick for a long time, but then I've switched over to read some fiction as well, though. But I like sci-fi. Like the last sci-fi novel I read was Project Hail Mary by Peter Weir, which I'm really excited. They're going to have a movie. So that's the guy who wrote The Martian.
Oh,
you remember
yes,
that?
I just watched that.
Yeah. So Ryan Gosling will be starring in the movie, and it premieres in March, is my understanding.
Very cool.
The trailer was just released.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I just recently started I, Robot by Asimov.
Oh,
I've never read it.
Yeah.
Have you?
I haven't. I don't think so. I have it on my bookshelf, but I don't think I've read Asimov. I've definitely read The Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
And Dune. I love Dune.
Dune.
Yeah.
So are the movies holding true to the?
I think I feel like the latest movies are a good reimagination of it.
Yes.
I love how they do the sandworms.
Yes.
I think those are amazing.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I picture Paul Atreides to be Timothée Chalamet, but that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's Hollywood for you.
Yeah. Or Chani. I mean, I like Zendaya too, but like I don't know if I would. But I mean, I think that they're great movies though, and the visuals are stunning.
Incredible what they can do now.
Arrakis looks like Arrakis the way that I would.
Interesting.
Yes,
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSP subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza-MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. And the one made back in the 80s with Lynch.
I know. I did see that, but it was so long ago.
Right.
I mean, the special effects are so different now, you know what I mean? I feel like, I think it was good for its time,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, the best they could do, but yeah, it's, I mean, it's been technology, as we know.
Yes, as we are here, yeah. And when you're reading, is it on paper, or are you listening? Is it digital?
No, I'm old school. I need paper books.
You need paper.
I've tried all different kinds of e-readers, and I have not liked any of them. I like paper, and like the studies do show that you remember things better when you read it on paper. And I agree, like because I can remember, like, oh yeah, that
the
page.
position on the page and things like that.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I don't have a photographic memory, but you know, yeah, I do enjoy reading a paper book though.
Yeah, there is something to be said at just holding the paper, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like that. I do.
Yeah, I go back and forth. The problem is that one book becomes two books, becomes three books.
Yeah,
all of a
well, I
sudden
definitely have like a stack of books that I
that's the
need
problem.
need to read. But
so maybe cycle them, or this is what libraries are for.
Yes,
to read them and return
that's
them,
true.
I guess.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, though I'm not good at that, but yes.
Yeah, and you never listen to them.
I do. I mean, I listen to podcasts. I don't listen to books on tapes as much. I guess if I had a long car drive, maybe I would consider doing that. But I haven't been an audiobook listener so much.
Yeah,
so.
they are like podcasts. It's the same way I look at it.
Yeah. But there's so many good podcasts out now. I'd rather just listen to a podcast.
Yes. There's 5 million. Last count.
I know. So what is your Joey Pinz? What's this? Discipline Conversations.
Yeah, so I started the podcast about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I just talked to very interesting people like yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. And so we're here at MSSP Alert Live outside of DC, your new home. What are some of your goals here? You were great up on stage a moment ago.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, I've been in the cybersecurity space for a long time now. I've been here. I've been in this space for, 15 or more years. I was with the federal government for 26 years, right? And so certainly the mid to last part of my career in federal service was in cybersecurity and, digital policy in general. And I think what was really interesting is when I moved, I had a wonderful career at the FBI, and then when I moved over to CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, I think I learned a lot more about how the federal government organizes itself around critical infrastructure.
Interesting.
And that really became something that I became passionate about. I mean, we have such a diverse ecosystem when it comes to critical infrastructure. The sectors are so varied and different. Like you take like the energy sector or the financial sector, which I would say are the better, more resource sector, and sectors that have more cybersecurity maturity and expertise. But then you look at the water sector, which is under attack by nation-state adversaries. I don't know if you watched a recent 60 Minutes interview that was done, with Tim Haw from former Senator. Yes. I thought that interview and that segment did a great job of really displaying, how Littleton, Massachusetts, this tiny little town in Massachusetts, is becoming, the battlefield for, if China invades Taiwan in 2027, what they could do, right? They can create these disruptive and destructive attacks on our critical infrastructure, and water is at the forefront. And it's not just these huge, if you told me that, I would think, they're going to be targeting New York City, right? Or
high population.
LA, Los Angeles DWP or something, which not that they're not targeting those, but they're doing, they're just also targets of convenience, right? And a lot of our rural water services communities that are 10,000 people or less, and they just don't have, it's not that they don't care, it's just they don't have the resources or the money or the know-how to secure their networks, right? And so it's a real issue. And I think my opportunity when I left government to work at a place like ICIT, where we look at critical infrastructure and we're that intersection between government, the private sector, and civil society, to look at how can we organize ourselves to help protect the infrastructure that we rely on, right? As people, as citizens, like we take it for granted, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been a privileged country where, there are other countries where you don't know if you're going to have running water every day or not, right? Or that you can have a hot shower. But most Americans don't live that way, and we tend to have electricity that works, that and these are all electricity, water, these are all telecoms, transportation. They're all sectors that we have seen in the government where China has pre-positioned themselves, in these sectors. So it's something that a place like MSSP alert here, when you look at this community, they're really on the forefront. They're on the battlegrounds, right, of when you think about modern warfare. I mean, you look at what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, the first lob, right, that Russia threw to Ukraine was actually a cyber attack. They attacked Viasat, the satellites, right, to take out the command and control of the Ukrainian military. So, our infrastructure and cyber is definitely going to be a means that our adversaries will exploit and are exploiting. And then if we are in an unfortunate, which I hope we are not, but if we are in an unfortunate conflict in the future, cyber will be the battleground, and the private sector will be on the front lines of that battle, because most of our critical infrastructure, I mean, it's hard to know the exact stat. There's a stat that we used of 85%. I was fortunate enough to be on a congressional commission called the Cyberspace Solarium Commission that worked on a great report of what should the U.S. do to prepare against a significant cyber attack. And, a stat that we used when we were at the commission was that 85% of our critical infrastructure is owned and operated by the private sector, not government. And whether that stat's exactly accurate or not, it is the vast majority of our infrastructure is owned and operated by the private sector. And so we really need to work together in order to defend the nation when it comes to future conflicts.
But how do you sleep at night with all this stuff? I mean, does it?
I mean, sometimes it can be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in daily threat intel briefings like I used to be when I was at the FBI and CISA. But you don't really have to be anymore. I mean, you read the news, right? And you hear about you can read about the Anthropic AI autonomous attack, right? That's in the news. I mean, a lot of these things are actually making the news, which I think is important, because I think people need to understand how much we are. And I think most people do, because we have a phone that we carry around with us. Like, we are embedded with our technology, right? And so we really need to understand that it is incredibly useful, right? And it has made our lives so much more convenient in so many ways. But unfortunately, it's dual-use technology, all of this. Like, adversaries can also use it for nefarious purposes, right? So, and AI is actually a good example. I was actually just visiting. My parents are in their 80s now, and unfortunately, there's been a rise, right? AI has made cyber criminals more efficient, and unfortunately, they target populations like the elderly, and when I had just gotten picked up by my parents at the airport, and my dad was telling me about how he got this email that told him that he needed to make a payment on his iCloud account.
Oh, man.
And I was like, do you even have an iCloud account? And I was like, Dad, please show me the email. And as soon as I saw the email, I knew that was a phishing attempt and he shouldn't have clicked on it. But, you know, he's older and it looks legitimate. I mean, they're all looking so much more legitimate now, right? And so, you know, I had to spend my first day at home, you know, just helping him call his credit card company, cancel the credit card number that he'd given to that company, you know, or that criminal actor, and just, you know, reminding him. And I know he's doing his very best, right? That you just shouldn't be, you should question anything that requires you to click on something in your email. So
yeah, my mother called me recently and she's like, oh, this number came up on my computer. I got to call them because my virus's detection is, so they would never ask you to call. Do not call them. Those are professional people that'll separate you from you're kidding me. It came right up, and it's just the way it is.
I know, and it's crazy, and it drives me crazy that they target the vulnerable like the elderly, you know, who just don't know any. And I felt really bad because my dad felt horrible that he was victim to a scam like that. You know what I mean? And I was like,
they feel, they feel dumb.
And I'm like, Dad, no, you know, it looks, I can understand.
Yes.
You know, it looks legitimate, but you should just question these things. And unfortunately, you are the demographic that they target. You know? And I've even on my own personal phone, I've noticed a rise in emails and like text scams, right?
Yes,
where they'll send you a text and they want you to click on a link, and you just should not do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless you know that
you're familiar with these ghost jobs?
No, what's that?
So the hackers put fake jobs up, you know, apply for the job. So these people apply for jobs and they're not real. So this one particular case where they were going to go for the interview, and a couple minutes before the interview, so they're doing construction in the office. Meet me at the Starbucks. Person meets them there, so we're going to hire for your job, gave them the piece of paper, they signed it. Here's all the emails, send all your W-9 and everything. And right before they did it, they noticed they were sending it to a Gmail account and stopped it because it was all their bank information.
Oh my God.
And the
horrible.
person actually met them. The building's right there, but let's meet here at Starbucks. And it absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, unfortunately, AI has been incredible in so many ways, right? But it's also just unfortunately lowered the barrier to entry for criminals. You know, and in government, that's been what we've been trying to do, is make it more expensive, right? We want to raise that barrier of entry, but it's hard because technology keeps evolving, and unfortunately, it makes things like malicious, you know, cyber email, business compromises, all these things more efficient, and they can do it at a larger scale than they used to be able to do it. And what's unfortunate too is like a lot of these AI models make like you used to be able to pick up on it because you're like, this is not an English speaker like writing this email,
right? You could tell.
Yeah, but now AI makes it so look so legit, right? And you can't tell that it's not from not a person, right? Or not a human. Not the right person. Not a legitimate company, right? And
Val, what should people know about the civilians that don't understand the FBI? What should they know about what it's like to work there and be part of that great organization?
So I will say, like, I worked at the FBI for 22 years.
Wow.
And I kind of fell into my career there. So I was at UCLA, and the FBI, one of the big assets that the FBI has is that they have such a large geographic reach. So they have 56 field offices domestically. They had, at the time I was at the FBI, 76 offices overseas.
Wow.
And even domestically, they have satellite offices. And those 56 field offices each have satellite offices that they call resident agencies. So, like, I don't even know how many then actual offices they have domestically. It's a lot. And, you know, the Los Angeles field office was actually right down the street from UCLA.
Wow.
And I ended up applying for a job there, and I got it. And I ended up, my major was economics, and I minored in accounting. And so I was in the financial part of the Los Angeles field office there. And I ended up running the finances for the Los Angeles field office. So I kind of fell into my FBI career, but a lot of the people that I met at the FBI, it was their dream, since they were young, to be a part of the FBI. And I really understand it. I feel like the culture at the FBI is one that I I feel honored that I was a part of. I tell people, and I know it can sound cheesy, but it is truly, genuinely from my heart. Working there made me a better person, a better citizen.
Wow.
The people there are special, you
Really?
know, and they are, because they really do believe in the mission. And working together, regardless of your political affiliation, on protecting the nation is a bonding experience, right? And it really, it builds character. And you know, some of my best friends are actually, maybe all of my best friends, most all of my best friends are somehow connected to my time at the FBI. And it really, you are a part of a family. Like, I think it's just something that you wear as a badge of honor. I really feel like I am very blessed that I got to spend so much time there.
So why leave?
So I left because I kind of briefly mentioned I was the FBI senior detail to this Cyberspace Solarium Commission. And this was, you know, there's lots of congressional commissions that occur, but this one was very special. And those people who might be listening to this podcast that are geeky cyber policy people know that this commission actually had a very outsized impact in the cyber community. So my opportunity being on the commission really helped me understand some of the complexities of why it's so hard for Congress to pass laws when it comes to cyber. And so one of the biggest complications is that cyber, depending on how you define it, it runs across a variety of different committees in Congress, right? There's not like one committee that has jurisdiction over all cyber aspects of cyber. And so in order for a legislative proposal to pass, certain legislative proposals to pass, you need to get jurisdictional relief from the different committees that have some say in that topic. And so that's really hard to do, right? Like, it's hard enough even if you're just in one committee to get something through Congress, right? Let alone if you have to get like 5 other committees to plus the effort. And so, you know, that was something that really stymied cyber legislation for a long time. But I think, unfortunately, the threat landscape is something that the threat has grown, right? And I think that is actually, and the timing of when that commission happened really showed that bipartisan, when you work on a bipartisan manner, you can get things done, because there were both Republicans and Democrats that were on the commission.
Good.
And we worked, you know, in a very bipartisan way. And the report that we published had over 80 recommendations, and many of them became law. Those recommendations were translated into laws, and a lot of those laws at the time helped bolster this new agency that they created called the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency that was created in 2018. And so, you know, it was an incredible experience for me to see, you know, how that process worked. And then when I went back to the FBI and I saw an opportunity to be a part of CISA, they had a job posting to be the chief strategy officer there. I felt like even though I love the FBI, I wanted this opportunity to continue on that journey of helping to write the recommendations and then see them become law, but then be on the other end of implementing them. And so I really got to have this unique experience of then being at CISA and helping to implement these recommendations that I knew where they came from and why they were created. And so it was an incredible experience. And I was there for 4 years. And it was also a great opportunity, you know, being in an agency like the FBI that has been around for over 100 years. It has a very strong culture. And it's also very set in its ways.
I see.
You know, going to a new agency, I wanted to experience that as well, to see like maybe there's a different way to do government or to view things, and also to get an opportunity to build a team myself, because that's a very rare thing that you don't often get to do in government, because most agencies have been around a long time, and you know, generally speaking, there's like low attrition across the federal government. And so, you know, this was a great opportunity. It was a new agency, and, you know, it was growing in its resources as well as in its staffing. And so it was a great opportunity for me to be able to build a team there. And it was great.
And now you're at ICIT?
Yes.
And what's the mission there?
So the mission there is it's to secure and modernize and make resilient critical infrastructure that provides for people's foundational needs.
Wow.
And really I mentioned that there are 16 critical infrastructure sectors, but the 4 critical infrastructure sectors that we focus in on at ICIT are water, energy, transportation, and telecommunications.
Whoa.
And these are sort of kind of distilling down some of the most vital critical infrastructure sectors that people rely on a day-to-day basis. So when I left the federal government, I really wanted to continue on with, pursuing the mission that I had at both the FBI and CISA, and this was a great opportunity for me to do that, just from a different perspective, right? And as government right now is contracting, it's also an opportunity to fill some gaps that exist, right? So CISA has experienced over the past year, unfortunately, a great decrease in their the numbers. Like it's actually, I think, half of what it used to be. Yes, and so a lot of their authorities and their abilities to do things, their convening ability has unfortunately decreased, right? Just because their sheer numbers have decreased, and so I think to fill that gap, a lot of places like ICIT and other think tanks are trying to help step in and working together with the private sector, right, on tackling some of these issues.
What is it about security, Val, that you're so attracted to?
I think let's take a step back.
Yeah.
I think I am I'm going to get emotional. I'm a daughter of immigrants, right? And my parents immigrated from South Korea to the States. And my dad, he came to America with just $100 in his pockets. But he did have a scholarship to go to school. He was a student. And he worked hard. Like he worked as a janitor to put himself through school when he was here. And he really has been able to live the American dream, and I love this country. I believe in this country and the vision that the founding fathers had for what this nation could be. And I want to protect and secure it, and I think serving in the FBI, serving at CISA has really given me that opportunity to give back a little bit what this country has given to me and my family.
Oh, it's a warm sentiment. That's very nice, Val.
Yeah.
Is there something that you steadily believed in 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that you don't anymore?
That's a hard question. I feel like certainly the challenges in society have changed a lot, right? And I think we've all learned about so technology has been a great blessing, but it's also, I don't want to say curse is the right word.
I'd be too quick to say that.
Yeah, but it's had some unfortunate consequences, right, on our society. And I think that 10 years ago, I did not realize how much, for example, social media can influence and actually hurt the development of young minds, right? I think that's something that, I wouldn't have necessarily said was such a detrimental thing to young people. But now, as we've seen, a generation of kids grow up on, they're like native with social media. It hasn't had the best mental health consequences for the younger generation. And I think that's something that I certainly was not really aware of 10 years ago. And now, in hindsight, I think moves like Australia is making where they're banning
16-year-olds.
I think that's great. Yes. I think a lot of schools in the U.S. are also just banning cell phone usage, especially I would think in middle school and high school. You do need to do that because you want them to learn. You want them to, and not be on their devices. And we've learned, right, that these algorithms are so smart, and they're tuned to keep you on your device, right? And so, and then the young minds are even more attuned to be addicted, right? And to be on their devices for way too long. And so I think, I'm glad that we're course correcting, and I'm hoping that we'll continue on that course correction as we see the need. Like, we need human interaction,
Yes.
right? And I think COVID obviously made it worse.
Right.
For
bad timing.
Yes, very bad timing. And unfortunately, too, like I was listening to another podcast that was talking about how, also these algorithms are making us angrier. Like, that's what gets the likes and the clicks.
Yes.
And not the nice stories about.
That's right. Angry people watch. Angry people vote.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I feel like
terrible.
I would like to embrace more niceness, even though that's not very cool or sexy.
Right,
but
it's not.
Can we just be?
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypinz.com/book. Thank you.
Nicer and kinder to each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
to incentivize us to do this. You mentioned you were a daughter of immigrants. I am as well. And when I try to, I don't know how else to kind of summarize it for some of my friends who are not, but I guess perhaps it's just not a higher or lower, but just a different level of gratitude I think I have. But would you share in that?
I definitely do. I mean, I think I can't imagine being in my early 20s, moving to a country where I did not really speak the language.
Yeah.
And the culture is
radically different.
And sadly, also, my parents I was made fun of. Like, I was picked on, right? Because we grew up, and I have an older brother, and my parents, and we grew up in Los Angeles, and initially my parents lived in Koreatown, which was very small back then. It was very, very, not that many Koreans, right? And then they ended up saving enough money where they bought a house out in the suburbs.
Nice.
And the suburbs, it was this town called Northridge, which right now has a huge Korean population.
My daughter went to school there.
Oh, okay. So it's huge Korean population. But when I was growing up, it was not.
Wow.
There was no one even knew what Korea was, right? There was no K-pop Demon Hunters. There was no any of that. And so most people assumed I was Chinese and would make fun of me, and do the eye thing. And it was hard.
Terrible.
It was hard. And my parents, they still speak English with a thick accent, and they were made fun of, and but they still were able to make an incredible life for themselves here, and I have a tremendous, and my dad is still he is appreciative, right, of the life that he was able to provide his family, because he left a war-torn country, right?
Amazing.
Like, my parents grew up, they were kids during the Korean War. My dad had a shrapnel wound in his leg.
Wow.
They had seen devastation, right? And at the time, he was thinking that he was leaving a country that would never recover, right, from that. It was just, the journey that Korea has been incredible too, to see how much they've grown and changed. But and so I do have that gratitude, because I know, and I saw how hard my parents worked to give my brother and I a better life. They had incredible work ethic, and I think that instills in you also a hard work ethic, but then also a gratitude, right? Like, they came, what was really moving for me is when I moved to DC here, I went to the Korean War Memorial together for the first time with my parents. And, if you go to the Korean, I encourage people to go visit the Korean War Memorial. There's this dedication on the ground there that talks about how these American troops, came to a country that they did not know to save people, a people that they did not know. They died to help free and give my parents a second chance, and it was so moving. And my parents were we were all so moved, but it was great to experience going there through my parents, you know what I mean? And it's beautiful. And I think that I think you're right. Like being an immigrant and having immigrant parents who made that incredible, scary journey that I don't know if I could do myself.
Right.
Really does make a mark on you.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's hard for us to relate often to them. And when my father tells me that he got his first pair of shoes when he was 12, hard to relate to that.
Yeah.
You understand it, and but again, that kind of gratitude and appreciation is different. Were you there in Northridge during the earthquake?
No, I wasn't. But my parents' house did experience a lot of damage. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is there a question, Val, that you wish more people would ask you?
Ask me personally?
Yeah.
I can't think of one, but I think in general, being in the cybersecurity space and community, there's, I really want more of the country and the nation to understand that we all need to play a part in this. I believe that companies need to do a much better job in building products from the beginning that are more cyber secure. There's a Secure by Design initiative that CISA had started that's taken off, and there's lots of companies that are talking about this. But I also think that everyone, since we all use technology and it's so embedded in our lives, I think it's really important for people to understand that unfortunately it's also a way that nefarious criminals and nation state actors are also unfortunately infiltrating our lives. And I think, I do want people, I don't want to live in a country where we're all afraid. Like that's not my goal. But just to have an understanding that, it is, the way that we think about modern warfare, the way that we think about conflicts in the future is changing, and technology is changing that rapidly. And we still have yet to know exactly how AI, we have some ideas of how AI is changing that, but we know it's going to be, it'll be very different, right, in 5 to 10 years. But I think it's really important for everyone to know about the fact that, the technology that they interact with isn't always on their side. I guess is me. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but like just to be aware, and to be aware of their privacy rights, right? And their that's a whole nother topic that we go down a rabbit hole, right? Like it's those privacy agreements where, who's going to read the 100 pages,
right.
And then you're kind of like then sucked in because you want to go on to that website or whatever, buy that product.
Agree.
But then you really are giving up a lot of your data, right? And yeah.
Very different.
That's very
So
different.
I started my tech firm, a managed service provider firm in the 90s, and I was working way too hard, Val, not paying attention to myself and putting exercise in the back, poor eating habits, etc. I end up in front of the doctor. She tells me I'm at 340 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So and I was a 46-inch, I'm a 32-inch now. So she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. Scared the life out of me, right? So the next I can abuse myself all I want, but I have a family now. I have to, it's much bigger than me. Next 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds.
Wow, good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I kept it off. You can't look at these things as a finishing line, right? These are lifelong changes. And when I tell people this story, Val, they always say, what's the secret? What you do? And there's no secret. I just say discipline. My focus, willpower, routine, I feel are all part of discipline. How does discipline play a role in your life?
So it's so funny that you say that. I'm a strong believer that people need to exercise.
Yes.
There's been so many studies, right, that show that exercise helps you with anxiety, with your stress. And let's face it, we live in a super stressful time,
Terrible.
right?
Yeah.
And I know for me, with my fitness journey and trying to make that a more regular part of my life, and I think with any habit, it's about the consistency that matters. And so for me, you start small, right? I think you can make radical changes in your life, but if you jump from 0 to 60, I would question whether that's going to be a lasting change in your life. Whereas if you try to make small incremental changes that you can do consistently, then I feel like you have hope that habit will stick. And so I feel like that's how I've done it. Like I've tricked myself into, going to the gym regularly, right? I go to the gym almost every day.
Good for you.
And a lot of that is, with me, my guilty pleasure is like, at my gym, I'm very lucky. It's a very plush gym and there's a sauna there. I love the sauna. And so like I started out saying, you know what, why don't you go? You just do something for 10 minutes on the exercise floor, right? And then you can go sauna.
Nice.
And
Your
so
reward.
like, yeah. And then it ended up flipping where I ended up enjoying more being on the exercise floor than going. But it took that, little bit of like, just, even if you just go for 10 minutes. And I do this now, even when I'm running late. Like, I know I'm running late, but I'll be there. And so I'll only be there for 10 minutes but I still do it because I think it's that habit of going regularly that makes, and you do feel better. Like,
you do.
That's what was actually almost ridiculous to me when I was like, I'm sure I look no different than I did a month or two ago, but you feel so much better by doing it consistently. And I think a lot of people like me, over COVID, like our brains got addled a little bit.
Sure
and
did.
I always loved to read, but I had a really hard time, even though, we were stuck at our homes during COVID, like I had a very hard time reading books during COVID.
Interesting.
And, and it took me a while to get that habit back, but it's kind of, I applied the same principle, why don't you just read a few pages before you go to bed, and now it's like, it's much easier. And I don't know, I'm sure there's podcasts on this, like why that happened to me during COVID, but I know I'm not unusual. But it's been a great joy to have a love of mine that, was one for most of my life back in my life, where I do enjoy and, try to read a book a month.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. Yeah, it is. I've been reading physical books. Authors have been sending me their books, and there is something very nice about that. And, what motivates you?
I think I have a couple different motivations. So I think one, and maybe they're sort of tied together. I have a daughter, and I have a young daughter. She's a young adult now. That I'm so proud that she is also in cybersecurity. And so I feel like that is my goal, is to help this next generation of leaders, right? In cyber, but also in federal government. Like I know I left federal government, but I'm working actually on my master's at George Mason in public administration, because I really do want to help this next generation. I feel like I mentioned to you earlier with my time at the FBI, I feel like I became a better person because of the service that I was able to do at, within the federal government.
Wow.
And I think it's also one of these rare places where, like, right now we're so siloed, right? We're so, like, in our camps when it comes to politics, when it comes to a lot of different things. And I think, and it's hard to just, like, tell you to understand me, right? Like, it's like when you work together on something that maybe isn't what differentiates you, but what unites you, you can become more united, right? Like, I never thought about whether or not the people that I worked with at the FBI were Republicans or Democrats.
Right.
Like, that didn't occur to me at all.
Most people
don't.
And
it did, but we worked together on issues that we both knew would make the nation safer. And it happens that most of them were Republicans, and I happen to be a Democrat, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it really doesn't matter. And I feel like I really believe this in national security. Like, it's a great place where we need more of these places where we are united and not divided, and we do things together. You know, like I worry about the next generation, and I want, but I believe they're also very inspiring.
They are.
They are so inspiring,
Yes.
and so that's one thing that motivates me is I want to help this next generation be the great leaders that I know they will be in cybersecurity, but also in federal service.
So your motivation, it seems to me, it's impact through legacy, through other ways as well. So how do you measure success, Val?
That's hard. I will say, though, I feel very privileged that in most of my career, I would say for most of those 26 years, I was a supervisor, right? I had small to big teams that I worked with. And I think a good measure of success for me is that I still have connections with almost all of the teams
Wow.
that I supervised throughout my years, and I am their biggest fan, and they are my biggest fan, and it's like a great reciprocal relationship. We spend most of our time of our healthy years at work.
Yeah, we do.
And and I think it's so important to be able to create an environment at work that you want people to go to. And I think I've been fortunate enough to be in organizations where people have that motivation themselves because they believe in the mission of that organization. But then you can also be in, and I have been in teams where, even though I'm in a great organization, like the team might not be so great, right? And so I always strive though to make teams where people want to come to work, right? They want to be motivated, and I think that's so important.
Great pleasure talking with you today, Val. Anybody watching or listening, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
I think the best way is to reach out to me through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure to put it in the show notes.
Yes, that would be great.
Thank you so much.
And I can send you my link.
I'll connect with you myself as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. It was great speaking with you.
Great talking with you.
Yes,
Great pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.